Our next speaker, Shelby Jo Long's talk is entitled Crafting Your Genius Brand. Shelby is a highly experienced executive and global managing partner at the Strategic Advisory Board. She specializes in client management and is an expert in branding and positioning. Shelby works with some of the most influential brands in the world, helping to create a strong framework for small to mid-market organizations. A professional speaker, international speaking coach, and 4-time international best-selling author, Shelby is a recognized expert in corporate communications. She works with prominent CEOs, professional athletes, and influencers in executive coaching and consulting to help companies amplify their influence in the marketplace with a comprehensive brand presence. In all of her endeavors, she helps clients develop a comprehensive brand strategy for thought leadership. Ladies and gentlemen, Shelby Jo Long.
Yes, ma'am.
Feels a little restrictive. I have to be smarter than the microphone. There we go.
It's not easy.
It's not easy. My junior year of high school was a whirlwind. As a 4.0 student, I had just returned victoriously from the Idaho State debate tournament. Took number 1 that year. And I was preparing for my typical summer as a ranch hand on the farm I grew up on. I was going to hay and harvest all while I was getting ready to go to college the following year. I was getting ready to go into the award ceremony the night before graduation to support my friends, the seniors that were graduating, when my life literally stopped. I was driving into town on a gravel road in a little Ford Ranger truck, and I was hit broadside by another much larger farm truck going about 80 miles an hour on a gravel road on a blind corner. I was immediately thrown into a coma. I spent the first half of the summer after my junior year of high school in the hospital, and I was in a coma for 16 days. I was in and out of intensive care during that time. About day 10, though, I started to show some signs that I was responding. I would squeeze the nurse's finger when she asked me to squeeze her finger. I was showing some responsiveness, but I still was not conscious. It was day 16, and my family was around me in a room filled with flowers and balloons, and I didn't really understand all of that, but my parents were by my side. My brother was sitting on the other side of the room. He had one of those little stress balls, those stress balls that you can squeeze and that are really good for relieving stress. He was throwing it against the wall and chasing it across the room. My brother, 2 years younger than me, I'm sure was extremely bored out of his mind at the end of school when he wanted to be around his friends, and he was sitting beside me. But all of a sudden, I snapped into consciousness, opened my eyes, and I looked across the room and I said, "Sean, you're really starting to piss me off." So laughter and tears filled the room as I had uttered the first words that I had in 2.5 weeks. Again, I'm a speaker, so I'm a debater, so I really like to speak. So it's not often that I am that quiet. But that was a pretty harrowing moment when I spoke those words, and I was able to give my parents were given some sense of hope that there was a light at the end of the tunnel after that happened. So I spent the next 4 weeks in the rehab center, regaining my strength and beginning to operate on my own again to be able to go home and hopefully return to school for my senior year. Even those simple tasks, and I can't really explain it any better than those simple things that we just don't think about, like taking the fork from your plate to your mouth to eat food, or even I had to retrain myself how to swallow food because I had tubes down my throat for so long. Just those simple things we take for granted. Walking was something I had to relearn and retrain myself I remember vividly the day that I took my first steps at the age of 17. I stood up out of the wheelchair and I had to tell myself to put one foot in front of the other. And I had to have the mental exercise to connect what my brain was telling my body to do and what my body was actually doing. It was such an interesting experience that it was such a strange experience, yet interesting experience. I was very, very fortunate that I was able to relearn things very quickly, and I was able to leave the hospital soon after that. And I was sent home with a prescription for more strength training and more physical rehabilitation before I would go to school my senior year. I did return to school that fall, and under the guise and under the push of my parents, they wanted me to return to a full schedule, AP classes and all. Also get back into all the activities that I was a part of. Not a real athlete in high school, but I did participate in those youth government activities and those debate activities, and they wanted me to return to that so I could return to normal. They knew that if I re-engaged my brain and re-engaged my body, that would be a way that I could recover. There was no question in my dad's mind that I was going to go to school that following fall. So it was just interesting to do that. I did return to school that fall, and I was able to do all of the things that I did before, even though it wasn't quite at the capacity I was before. I didn't really feel that. It was the traumatic brain injury. What that did to me is that it did set me back, but it also, there was some amnesia involved with it. So I just thought everything was normal. So my poor friends that would have conversations with me over and over and over again, and I would continue to have the same conversations, they helped me, and they helped me get past all those things. So it was really interesting to be able to do that. I was not 100% when I went back to school, but I did go back to all the things that I did before. All the AP classes, I returned to debate, I returned to music, I returned to all those things. And very quickly, a couple of months later, I was ready to graduate from high school, ready to go on to college, and ready to go compete on a nationally competitive debate team at Carroll College and also study communication. That was all planned a couple months later, but that was all what we thought was impossible just a year earlier. So returning to school and graduating and being a part of the debate team, I really feel that my participation in debate, and this is unscientific, not scientifically proven at all, but I feel that was a significant part of my recovery. I was able to re-engage my brain. I was able to respond to things. Standing up and speaking in front of an audience, as all of you know, is challenging and it takes a lot of preparation, but that was good practice for me to be able to do that. And I felt that was a significant part of my recovery. So you're probably asking yourself, well, what does this story about a traumatic brain injury that I haven't had, what does this all mean to me? What I discovered through that process of thinking about my recovery was all around the same time that I was formulating my entrepreneurial journey as I was stepping away from the college and transforming my genius ideas, those foundational skills that I had in my brain as a part of my intuition, and transforming that into an income stream where I can solve problems for other people. That's where the whole connection I wanted to make for you today is, and to get you to think about those things. Many of you are entrepreneurs of your own genius, and if we can just harness on that one solution that we have and that one skill that we have to solve problems for others, it can make a tremendous difference, not only in our business, but it can make a tremendous difference with how you operate yourself. So thinking about your genius, discovering what that is, and also growing your genius. Our genius changes, it's dynamic. It's constantly moving and adapting to the world around us. And then living in your genius, being that you are someone that experiences it, but you also can help others discover their potential too. That's all a part of being a genius entrepreneur, and that's what I want to talk to you about today. So let's talk about genius. Let's first of all talk about what genius is not. Genius we think might be the geniuses that we read about in books, the Elon Musks, and all those people that we see that have developed their genius and that we would consider geniuses. But genius is not your education. It's not the degrees that you have. It's also not your experience. It's not your IQ. Your genius is developed from you and your worldview and your experiences that are all combined together that help you solve problems quickly, that help you be a unique, charismatic individual, not only in your own business, but it helps you operate in your own way where you can influence other people. That's your genius. Your genius is your own charisma, your own personality, and your story, and your own ability to influence others. And when we think about what that genius is, sometimes it takes us a while to discover what that is, because our genius might show up in a different way, in many different places. If we're a part of an industry, many of us have worked in industry for a lot of years. I worked in academia for quite a few years. I've been teaching college for the past 17. But I teach in that area. I know I teach a certain genius to get students to think about what genius is, but I don't really think about how they can manifest that and how they can really live that and be a part of it. I just want them to learn the information and feed it back to me. But when you work with business owners and you work with entrepreneurs, it's really how do we get that genius to be a part of who we are? And how do we connect with people? We've heard about brands and having an emotional connection today. That's what running a business is all about. And that's what being truly fulfilled in your business is all about. When you have that connection with your genius and you understand what truly is your gift and your contribution to the world, why wouldn't you want to build business around that? When you understand your genius, that is key. It also is something that might change. It's dynamic. But your core level of processing and your core level of understanding and influencing people, that doesn't change. It just changes where you show up in your genius. Whether you are teaching or whether you are working in a corporation or whether you're leading a parent group, any of those things, it's the same core level of influence, but it changes and adapts to whatever place you are really in and where you're trying to exert influence. So my question to you is, think about that genius. What do you have that's unique? What do you have that can offer to the world that is something that's different and something that it not only differentiates you from your competition, but it makes people want to find you because you are the expert in that space. That space is the key for business, especially in the digital age where we're flooded with so many advertisements and so many things on media, and people can be what they want to be, but if they can connect with you and your genius idea and your differentiated brand, that's where that connection really starts to happen, because then you can really live in what we like to call the genius zone. Anybody lived in their genius zone before? Lived in that area where things are easy, where things feel effortless, and where we feel free and we're able to influence others, and it's just an incredible feeling to live in that zone. How often do we stay there? Or do we go back to the things that make us money, and we might not think about what's easy and what's being in that genius zone? That's the key to thinking and discovering your genius. What is that key to monetization? What's that key to my genius? But then how can I keep living in that genius zone? How can I live there and begin to influence others in a way that I didn't think possible before? Those are some interesting things to think about, is how can you live in that space where you are operating at your highest level, the optimum performance, and how can you be there? I worked with a lot of athletes, and athletes are probably an easy group to point to, because how many multi-million-dollar business solutions are out there from athletes? I have the diet that's going to work for you. I have the gym exercises that are going to work for you. My plan is going to help you lose weight and have fun and be a member of your family again. Millions and billions of dollars of an industry is developed around those genius ideas that can give you that transformation. Also think of like Tony Robbins and all the other like major business communication influencers out there that have built their genius products, built assets around their ideas, and created a whole business around it. Those ideas, similar to what you all are doing as genius entrepreneurs, you can build an empire. We have the ability to do anything we want with those ideas. Just think about living in your genius zone, and also developing an empire around the transformation that you want to inspire. You can do that. It is done every day, and you can do it too. If you make that a part of understand where that zone is, and understand how to monetize that zone of genius, and then really make that a brand and a movement and a business that you can have membership in, and that you can enjoy the transformation and help others achieve that transformation. Something that's really a way that you can contribute your unique genius to the world by discovering and thinking about where you're at. Wouldn't it be cool to build a business around that? Wouldn't it be great to be able to live in your genius zone? Wouldn't it be great to be free of industry, free of other people's restrictions, to be able to do that? We're all starting those ideas. We've heard about many of them today. I know I'm in the 3 o'clock hour. I know we're getting a little sleepy. But it's so inspiring to see people that are living their genius, that are living in their brands. I think there's some really interesting ways that we can begin to show up in the marketplace. I do think there is the one story I'll leave you with as I begin to conclude, is that we all have our own genius. It's dynamic, it changes with our experiences, it changes with the way that we show up, it changes with partnerships, and how important it is to have other people in that journey. Because understanding your intuition is one thing, understanding your genius zone is another thing, but trusting it is at a whole different level. And when we begin to trust ourselves, that's when we draw other people in that have similar interests to us, that understand the transformation that we want to make, and why not do that with somebody else? It's great to have partnerships. And I've been very, very fortunate in the past couple of years to be able to experience some incredible business partnerships that do nothing but take my own business to the next level while we're creating and innovating in these other areas. It's an incredible thing to be able to trust yourself enough to be open to all of the possibilities that we can be open to in the world of entrepreneurship. I'll leave you with one thought from my father, another story about my father, my late father, unfortunately. But this was when I was recovering from the accident or getting ready to go to school. I remember we were sitting in a meeting. It was myself, my parents, principal of the school, this is high school, principal of the school, a couple of my teachers, people that I was close with. I'm from a very, very small town, so everybody knew everything about what was going on. We were sitting in the meeting, and the principal and the teachers, their proposal, because they knew what I'd been through, they knew I was in the hospital all summer, and they said, what do you think about giving her a reduced schedule this next year so she can adjust to school and get ready and prepare and just make sure that she can still be present, and we're happy to work with her however they want. And my dad, good old farmer that he is, said, hell no, we're doing that. She's going to go back to all of her classes. She's going to be challenged. There's no way that she's not going to college that following year. She's going to achieve her goals. She has the power to do it. We're not going to reduce her classes. She's going to sit through calculus, even though she doesn't want to. She's going to do all of those things that she has been doing. My dad had set me on the path to be a risk taker just from that moment. That he had the trust in me that I could do it. He knew that I had the power to do it myself. We didn't really know how it was going to happen, but he knew that if I was in that space and I was being challenged, he knew that my intuition had that power to adapt. One of the most important lessons that I've ever had from my father, and particularly on the entrepreneurial journey, as I build my own business and I help others discover their genius and enter it into the marketplace. All of those things have to do with our intuition. Sometimes it takes a third person or a trusted person to identify what that genius is for you and to say, you have the power to do it yourself. You have the intuition. You have the keys. Now, what are the ways that we can enter that to the marketplace? That's a genius entrepreneur. Thank you.